So welcome back. This is our next episode of the last week of Epoch podcast. I am your host, PerryThePig. With me as always is,
Cynical Squid.
and we have minus one host today. He is out because of some technical difficulties, but we do have a special guest with us today, who is one of my friends, my moderator on Twitch as well, and someone who you're gonna know for a variety of reasons. And this is SirFreeForAll. So SirFreeForAll, welcome. Glad.
Hello.
Glad to have you here. I've been making jokes. I overlooked the idea of even having you on the podcast because I'm worried about what I had to look up for myself is nepotism. Nepotism is the word that I was worried about. I was like, am I really going to have my own Twitch mod on the podcast? I was worried a little bit.
And so I thought you just hated me.
No, I don't.
I was like, Harry, he hasn't asked me to go on the podcast yet, man. That's so weird.
So I want to make sure that people on Spotify and YouTube and Twitch chat right now know who you are, and then I want to ask you just a barrage of questions. So
Yep.
the intent of today's podcast is to talk about something that you do all the time in like I guess every game that you play, as far as I know, which is min-maxing. And you had a build that got a lot of publicity over like YouTube and on Reddit in Last Epoch recently. You were playing a super min-maxed version of Squirrels, just like deleting bosses in like 3 or 4 or 5 seconds. If you've seen somebody one-shot a boss recently with Squirrels, I think FreeForAll was the person behind that clip. So that is the intent of what we're talking about today. So Free, can you tell me, maybe first of all, what got you into Last Epoch to begin with?
So I've actually played Last Epoch for quite a long time. I shared the date with you that one day, but it's been a long time. It was just another ARPG. It was during the lull period of PoE, which is a game that I also play quite a lot. And I was like, man, I really want that ARPG itch to be scratched. Found Last Epoch, and I bought it and I played it. And I was like, man, this is really fun. And then I got to Monoliths and I was like, this is less fun, but it's still pretty engaging. Because Monoliths back then are definitely not how they are now. They were very lacking in content, but you know, it was just that game to play before it got cool and all the PoE streamers switched over. I was like, this game is actually really fun, and I find myself enjoying it. I never, not one single time, looked up a build guide when I was first learning the game.
Did you feel like your builds were strong at that point, or were you just kind of looking around? Okay.
And I never felt as if I needed to like to really. I felt like I just read the thing, and then do the thing, and it just worked. It didn't feel like I was inhibited in any way, and it was just a game that I could really just turn my brain off and play, and it was good.
And because this is your first time being on this podcast, I want to make sure that people know who you are and know what to expect. So if somebody sees you pop up on Reddit, or they see you in Discord or Twitch, or then maybe they catch your YouTube channel as well, what do people expect when they see content come from you?
So if you know me from Path of Exile, and you see me on Reddit, you're probably looking at some crazy insane item that I just got bored and spent 3 mirrors on. Just some, and then also Valed because I'm a psychopath. No, none of my top tier items are mirror tier because I always double corrupt them, no matter the item. So if you're watching me from PoE, you probably know me from a lot of the really insane items from there. I made some incredibly insane gloves this Scourge League that are like 85% conversion. To the people that don't know PoE, it's just a one in a million shot that I made them. If you know me from Last Epoch, it's probably from the squirrel build. If you found me on YouTube, I coincidentally found a 2LP Scurry, and then somehow, by the miracles of whatever, got +4 summon wolf, and also minion crit multi on my 2LP Scurry, and that's kind of what sparked the original build idea. And then I kind of picked apart some builds that I found. I picked apart your version of squirrels. I picked apart some other ones that I found on YouTube, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to spend every waking moment in LE playing this build until it is near perfect, and that's what I did.
Just full degenerate. No
Yeah.
re-rolling, no re-rolling, no less than perfect items.
Oh,
Just
yeah. No,
just like
so every total, it's been 350 hours into the build.
just that one build.
Yeah,
That's really
350
good.
hours into squirrels. And I think I'm like 12% off perfect.
On the
About 12.
character.
Yeah, on the character itself.
So a slightly different perspective than what I have. So I play mainly during the weekend tournaments that are run in the community. So I'm re-rolling, every 3 or 4 days. I've got some characters that I use in hardcore, and like maybe my character dies, and it has pretty good gear. It's got maybe a Ravenous Void, maybe a Bastion, but like I'm losing those uniques. But like my rares they're fine. They're pretty good uniques, or so they're pretty good rares. But like being 12% off it, like the entire build is just oh
So it's insane grinds like killing. I think I did 1,200 echoes in Abomination in the first area to get a 3 LP Ribbons of Blood. And I was farming at 600 corruption the whole time, just blasting.
And then at that point, you're not even guaranteed to get the 2 prefixes that you want or the 2 suffixes
Yep.
that you want. It's still like a little bit of RNG at that
Yep.
point. So that's a good bit of context for like where you're coming from. And I've seen you play games like RuneScape. I've seen you spend too much time on Path of Exile. I'm like, I know this is kind of this is your MO, right? Like you don't re-roll, you don't really enjoy leveling. You enjoy just like min-maxing one character. So I guess my question is like, what about leveling? Like, is it leveling that you like or don't like, or is it min-maxing that you like or don't like? Like what is
in
gearing?
general,
Yeah, go ahead.
I do not mind having multiple characters. In PoE, I tend to probably play like 2 or 3 characters in a league, about 600 to 500 plus hours every league. But in LE, there's some things that are in play that make me really not want to level new characters. Um, one major one being is the absolute slog of having to go through and getting empowered monoliths. That to me is the most awful experience, and really to me the worst part of LE. Just for me, bar none, that is the worst part of LE to me.
And some people like leveling, crazy people like me
Mhm.
level a new character every couple days. And people like, feeling the momentum of getting their skills from level 18 to 19 to 20. But I'm kind of with you as well. Like I hear people say things like I level a character to level 75 and then I re-roll, or like I've never been past level 80. And it's like to me, I feel like that's where the fun part starts. Like I want to just like blast maps. I want to get some exalted drops. I want to feel strong. Like feeling weak over and over and over and over. I don't know. I'm kind of with you on that. I don't know, Squid. What do you think?
No, see, I agree 100% because like basically the hardest part of playing a character to me whenever I roll a new character is getting my character to like 75 or so. Once I hit 75, it's like the rest of the game now starts and I get to actually play the version of Last Epoch I really enjoy playing. And I'll get from 75 to 100 much faster than I will 1 to 75 because I'll actually feel compelled to play the character because I don't have to sit there and like Free For All was saying, I don't have to sit there and get to empowered monoliths. Like just that whole entire grind of like just from like 50-ish to like 75 just makes me want to like rip my hair out.
I actually did rip all of my hair out.
So the other thing about leveling is so you every single time you not every single time, but a lot of times when you level a character, you always tell the hardest part of LE, what is it? Level 10?
It's like
Yeah.
getting through like the level 14 zone, right?
And to me that's when I first played the game, I played hardcore off the bat. Um and you'd get to that area and you just die every single time, and it's just like what's happening? Am I just bad at this game? to me, that part, that single area feels so off. It feels like that single area feels like Act 9 mobs. It's just, it's so
But
odd
also
to
your
me.
character has no tools to deal with it.
Right. And it's not like something you could just skip, or just not do like Act 9. In fact, I don't even think on my Umbral Blades build that I'm, spoiler alert, min-maxing. I don't even think I've killed Lagan on that build.
Well, like now, like I know that I don't have to because they have the little counter down there that tells me it's like, oh no, you've done everything you need to do in campaign. Go do something else now.
I don't need to finish. Listen, I think if we don't refocus, we're gonna be complaining about leveling the entire, because we love complaining about leveling. So I know. So the beginning, the impetus for you min-maxing a character free for all was the introduction of legendary items.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I have talked about this in the past, where like the gear progression just kind of halted at some point. The old crafting system was a lot of RNG. It didn't really give you a lot of control over the exalted items you found. So now that we have legendary items in the game, how does that work into like you min-maxing character? Like, is your gear all uniques been turned into legendaries? Do you still have exalted gear?
Yes, I still have exalted gear. Yes, I could technically not have exalted gear. But on the realm of realistic stuff, I realistically put a benchmark for myself to have at least 3 uniques that have either 1 or 2 LP, and at least 1 unique that has 3 or 4 LP. For me, that's my benchmark for a min-maxed build. There's some exceptions to that, but basically that's where it is. How much legendaries changed how I play the game is kind of night and day. When I played LE before the legendary system, it was more like, hey, this build looks really, really fun. I want to level it and see how it feels, and go from there. But now it's like, man, I could farm 1,000 echoes to get an LP Wings of Argentus. I could do that. And to me, that's not wasted time, because every single time a Wings drops, I'm like, oh, I that could be it. That could be the one. And so the super long grinds are there for me. So it literally put hundreds of hours to my playtime, especially just on a single build. Before legendaries, I would never have spent that much time on any build at all. It just to me, it didn't seem worth it, because you would just get your exalted gear, and that's it. You don't have anything else. And in the long grinds, getting an LP Wings of Argentus just for the chance for it to be good, to me, that's worth it. And that's why I love doing it. That's why I love grinding.
I like that you mentioned just like the chance of being good. So something that we talked about recently is like, so you mentioned Mirror of Kalandra from Path of Exile. Pretty good item. It's extremely expensive, pretty rare as well. But like the real use of it is like, well, you take one item and you copy it. And that has a lot of uses in a trade league where you can just like sell things back and forth. Or maybe if you have like an OP ring, you can make a second copy of it. And I guess that's kind of okay, but the market value of a Mirror of Kalandra is like much, much higher. So we now have something in Last Epoch that kind of looks like a mirror. But because we don't have a market system, we don't have multiplayer, we don't have trading yet, we have this Rune of Creation that can take an item that has FP, foraging potential, sets it down to 0, and then makes a copy of it. So now you have 2 items that have no foraging potential on them. One of the uses of these is that if you have a 1 LP Wings of Argentus and you really want that one stat on it, you can like copy the exalted item, put one on, and then if it misses, you still have backup crafting materials. I want to know, if anyone has actually done that, it would be you.
Yes.
Have you used Rune of Creation?
I've used 2 for that exact purpose.
And tell me about them.
So one of them is a ring that I used on the 3 LP Ribbons of Blood. The ring was, I basically had a ring that dropped with basically perfect stats. It didn't drop as that, obviously it was crafted up. And then when I finished it and divined it, basically, it had 3 forging potential left over. So there's nothing else I can do with this. And this is before I had the 3 LP ribbons. I was like, well, there's no reason why I shouldn't have 2 of these. So I creationed it, and just used both of them, because that's what I could do. So then once it dropped, I'm like, okay, well, I could just use my old backup ring if this doesn't turn out well. And so I used it. It got, I think it got the perfect roll. I can't remember exactly what's on it, but yeah. And then the other one was on a chess piece for the wings if I ever drop it.
Just in case, a miracle
Yep.
happens and you find a 1
I have
LP.
it's a tier 7 minion crit percent, flat percent.
I think you might be the only person trying to make that
to ever want that.
right?
Yes.
Like, who would ever make that? But like, to me, that's kind of cool, right?
It'd
like,
be so good.
It would be very good. But like, you have like these unique items, and like you can do anything with them. Like, you can make a legend. You can make like the obvious item. You can put Warpath on it. You can put percent health on it. You put Vitality on it. Or you
But
can
you're
put
like, why in the hell
crit
is that
multi?
guy putting that on there?
Like, somebody is very happy about minion crit multi on their Wings of Argentius. I don't know. It reminds me of like a running gag that we have, is talking about these Snowdrift boots. Snowdrift are a pair of unique boots that have basically no movement speed on them, but they're really strong for like a Frostbite build. And they only have movement speed if you have dexterity, but all the Frostbite builds that I want to play have no dexterity in them. So I've told myself, like, I'm not going to play a Frostbite build until I can get movement speed on these boots. And I've tried to, make 6 or 7 pairs at this point, and they all have like strength or health regeneration. It's like, man, I just please put movement speed on my boots. Oh, it's like a horror story at this point.
So another thing that for me, min-maxing a build also means, to put this into a new tangent. Min-maxing a build to me is not only doing the most damage possible, it's also being able to survive in 600 corruption. I have in one of my talking points here that how defenses, and this is something that I see not talked about a lot, how defenses feel like DPS in Last Epoch. If you don't have an adequate amount of health or crit avoidance, or endurance, or just less damage taken elsewhere, you will just not survive on high corruption, and therefore you're not farming as efficiently in the end game. And to me, the DPS aspect is as important as the defensive aspect, even when I'm blasting tier 4 Jeweler in 5 seconds and I could be doing it slightly faster. It's just not worth it, because when I'm outside of that aspect, I'm farming 600 corruption, and it's just you just can't, it's just you can't afford not having that health.
It reminds me of a Diamond Matron. Like, when you run into a Diamond Matron and like you're pushing a little bit further into the content than you're like maybe you should be. Maybe you run into like your first like 200 or 300 Diamond Matron. It's like, well, I could kill this, and I could kill it in like 2 seconds if I have the right opening, if I can like jump on it. But like, if you can't survive the damage of being able to jump on the Diamond Matron and tank 1 or 2 hits and like get in there, then you have no DPS. You can't do anything if you can't like actually make it in the circle and like get on top of the boss.
Yep, it's exactly that. And so defenses in Last Epoch are very nice. They're very excellent. To pull a tangent from Path of Exile, you can quite literally die to a white mob in Path of Exile with several layers of defense. To me, I don't like that. There's a lot of things about PoE that I absolutely love. There's a lot of things about PoE that I absolutely don't love. I feel like defenses they actually did get a lot better in Scourge, but I feel like defenses in in Path of Exile feel, for lack of a better word, boneless. They
Really?
just feel like they have no meat. They don't do very much unless you have stacked incredible amounts of layers. Whereas Last Epoch, you will feel immediately. Put on a Bastion, you're going to feel that immediately. Walk into an empowered monolith and play half of the monolith and then play the other half with a Bastion, you're going to tell night and day.
I don't know if Bastion is a good example here. That's like the most busted item I've ever seen.
But it's just as a benchmark though.
Oh, sure.
You're gonna realize, you're gonna notice a 50% critical avoidance versus 100. You're gonna notice when you don't have, to put it like this. I use a weapon swap for my build. A single target build with a two-handed axe. If I accidentally forget to put that on, with even if I didn't have the visual of the circle around me, I know within 10 seconds of walking to that map that I forgot to switch back. And to me, the immediate drastic switch in feeling your defenses in Last Epoch feels very nice. And I feel like it's worth it to actually invest in defenses.
I want to push back on something. So you mentioned crit avoidance in Last Epoch, and crit avoidance I think is like one of the most boring defenses in Last Epoch.
Oh, it absolutely is.
It's
Oh, yeah,
okay. I think you know where I'm going with this, right? But
yes, I do know. Where
but
you're going with
it's
this.
chance to avoid critical strikes. So if you have 99% crit avoid, you're doing it wrong. You are incorrect. And like my character that I played in this past weekend tournament, I was playing in hardcore. I had 99% crit avoid, but like I just tried not to think about it. So 99% crit avoid, it means that like 1% of the time, like you are just incorrect. And like block chance of block effects, like block effect helps to make block not so black and white. In Path of Exile, block is black and white. You either block and take 0 damage, or you don't block and you take all the damage. Whereas in Last Epoch, even if you block, you still need block effect. So like how much block effect kind of makes the whole equation a bit more gray, right? Like kind of evens out the damage. There are things in Last Epoch that I think could be doing a lot better. Like I don't like glancing blows, for example. I don't like crit avoid. I don't like things that are just like either the thing happened and you died, or the thing didn't happen and you survived. I'd like to see more gray stuff.
And so Path of Exile does have reduced damage taken from crits. More and more, it's popping up. You can get it in several different places, and you can get up to 100%. Not super easily, but in Scourge it got a little bit easier. And to me, that giving up an affix to take less damage from crits will probably feel nice. You will definitely notice. You'll definitely notice, rather than having 99% crit avoid, having 80% reduced damage taken from crits, you're gonna notice that.
And even Last Epoch, we have that line of text. We have reduced damage, or less reduced bonus damage taken from crits.
Yeah,
it's a suffix on two-handed weapons, and it only exists in one place.
Yeah,
I don't know. I might be in the minority on this, but I think that Last Epoch would be better if you just took out crit avoid and replaced all of those with reduced damage taken from crits. I'm into it. Sign me up.
One thing that I do like about PoE that I necessarily don't enjoy about Last Epoch is why, and I've thought a little bit about this, so I'd like some feedback. Why can't why Primalist only items? Why Acolyte only items? Why can't I put this random chess piece that is Primalist only on my my VK or something? Why not?
I don't know if there's a good answer to that question.
I don't have a good answer for you.
I love that about PoE. I love that you can just put on anything. And yeah, Mao said it used to be like, because it did used to be like that, and I loved that. Like, why do they take it away?
Seems like maybe it's a more tailored experience. I think it's just like a base type question, right? Or like this base type matches up with this. This base type matches up with this. A good example of this is a unique item that I'm currently farming up in Last Epoch. So there are two that I want to call attention to. One is called a Storm Carved Testament, It's a unique relic that drops from Lagan, and it has Storm Totem stuff on it. And Storm Totem is like a shaman specific skill, right? So you'd kind of think like, oh, it's got Storm Totem on it. Why isn't it, Primalist only or Shaman only, whatever? There's another unique relic. It's kind of in the same vein. It's Kelthan Blasting Agent. It's a unique relic that is rogue specific, and it makes your decoys explode like little holy hand grenades. That is a rogue specific item. And the only reason that one is rogue specific and the other one isn't rogue and the other one isn't Primalist specific, the only justification for that is the base type. So I think it's just a base type thing.
There's also some uniques that don't have regular bases. Ravenous Void's a good example, as the Vitality, as its implicit base type. I was thinking, like, what
I
if
would
I
use
wanted
that on
to,
every single build if I could.
What if I wanted to think of this? Ravenous Void is super great, just
Go
an
on.
OP item.
Tell me
What
more.
if I could just delete it and just keep the base? What happens?
Oh, you want to corrupt 5 of them and then sell them to the vendor?
Absolutely, that's what I want.
I understand.
Why can't I do that?
Why can't the Path of Exile player do Path of Exile things in the other video game? That's a great question.
I just love super in-depth things. Like, I love being able to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and eventually, be able to make something really crazy with time and currency investment. That's my whole thing.
So when you were pushing and pushing, I want to hear more about the squirrel build, because I know about the very beginning of the squirrel build, and I know about the one-shot montage at the very end. So at the very beginning, you linked to me a 2LP Helm of the Scurry, which is the unique Zizarin helmet that he added in the game. It's got the squirrel stuff on it, and you linked it to me, and we were like, both of our jaws just dropped, and I was like, this is incredible. I don't know.
It's true.
So we just like we messaged everybody on Discord, and we're like, hey, what do we do with this? What are the best modifiers we could possibly put on it? And when it hit, it's like, okay, this is the beginning of something that SirFreeForAll wants to sink his teeth into. What did the rest of that gearing process, like, where do you start?
So when I should note this. When the legendary patch dropped, I was starting from fresh. Clean start, completely brand new.
Oh, you deleted your save files and everything, didn't you?
Yeah, I deleted save files. I deleted all the gold, all my stash. I had collected all the uniques in the game. I deleted all of my everything, shards, basically brand new, league start. I did that because I didn't want to go into the legendary system with an already skewed like mindset. I wanted to just creep into it like as if I was a new player, coming into with just basically the knowledge that I had acquired. So I did actually start with a primalist. I had a thought in my head to actually to play the squirrel build. That's what I was going to do, but I quickly realized that I didn't like Beastmaster at all. So I said Primalist before. I quickly realized I didn't like Beastmaster at all. I ended up switching to Auto Bomber, and I farmed up a whole bunch of gear, a whole bunch of exalts, just typical stuff. Went through, played a whole bunch, and got through my monoliths and just farmed the gear, and then farmed the helmet, and then I ended up farming for like a week, and I had 3 scurries drop, and the one was with 2 LP. And then from there, I had gotten a 1 LP Raven's Rise, and this was before the jeweler gloves even existed, which once those came out, oh god, that build got so much better.
The jeweler gloves are the ones that whatever you legendary onto them, like all those stats go onto the minions.
Yes. And the most important line of text is shred on melee hit, which basically just blew up, because you have 8 squirrels, and when 8 squirrels have 150% chance to shred armor on hit, you don't even see the ticker go from 1 to 15 plus. It just starts at 15 plus. So basically my tier 4 jeweler kills went from 13 seconds to 8 seconds with that one mod.
Jeez.
Now I want to know, like, what's the time differential between every piece of
So then the next really big upgrade. So I got the helmet. I got that really big one-handed or two-handed axe. So it started off with about what really started it was how I got jealous about seeing the clip on Reddit of killing Julera in 13 seconds. And I'm like, I'm going to do it in twice that time.
Really?
Or in half that time. I was like, they killed that boss so fast, man. I want to do it faster. So I did. And so I started off and I was at like 15 seconds, 16, 17 seconds. When it was first starting, it was like in the 20-second range. Then I got my 2 LP Ravens Rise, and then it got knocked down a couple seconds or a second. I got that really big one-hand or two-handed axe, and knocked down like a second. Then I started doing things that I didn't even think were possible, like one-phasing lagging, which is crazy.
Oh, I think you've even found some bugs like that too, haven't you?
Yeah, so you can't go collect your loot if you one-phase lagging. It just keeps kicking you back down.
And then Argentus continues attacking you.
He just when you kill Argentus too fast, all the mobs still spawn, all the beams still fire. So you have to like quickly grab your loot and your blessing and just hope you don't die. So the next really big upgrade was getting the 3 LP ribbons because it gave flat damage as well as leech, and though that really helped with minion survivability.
Was the 3LP ring the only thing that you like target farmed for the build, or like did everything just randomly come together? Like what were you target farming?
I target farmed for the Raven's Rise for a while. I was trying to go for a 3LP one, but I ended up just getting a 2LP, then did another 300, 400 echoes and got bored.
I assume what you mean by like target farming it was like you just did like Lagan's timeline over and over. You were looking for like set unique gloves.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
And then after that, the wing. I tried to go for an LP wings, which I still haven't got after 1200 echoes. So we're working on it still. The 3LP ribbons did take a while. I got a lot of 2LP ones, but I really wanted that 3 because I could get away with not having the flat health that I had on the ring. But if I got the flat health, I wasn't going to be upset. That was basically it. So those were the.
I got to interrupt. The 2LP rings, like if you got a whole bunch of those, were you slamming those with the legendary machine? Were you putting those in the oven as well?
I ran out of rings, exalted rings.
You ran out of exalted rings?
I ran out of exalted rings.
Oh my god!
That I wanted to use, that I could use on it.
Holy crap!
Well, think of it this way: a random exalted ring isn't going to be good for me. I need to have all 4 of those mods be the mods that I would use, like on a ring that I would use for the build. Basically, exalted minion, damage, minion health, life, crit avoid, endurance, whatever it would be. I need to have tier 5. All affixes done. Maybe I would slide. I can't tell you how many times I have deleted or sold an item that was tier 5 or tier 7, tier 5, tier 5, tier 4. Not acceptable to me. Sell it.
Cynical, what do you think? Do you want to start playing the game this way?
Well, I am trying to farm up an LP wings right now.
It's a grind.
I'm not 1200 in. I'm like 750 in so far working on it. It's it's a slog, but when it finally drops, it'll be well worth it, I assure you.
Yes. I mean, just having it drop. I don't even care if it rolls like crap. It's just having it drop would be sweet.
Exactly. Like it could
drop. The rolls on a Wings of Argentus are like plus 30 or plus 40 to flat.
I mean, once you legendary it.
Right. Oh, okay.
So after that, the biggest upgrade was the biggest upgrade was the gloves, and then getting that ring that I eventually like mirrored or whatever. Getting the gloves. I think to date I've killed 500 tier 4 Jewelers.
How many 2LP uniques have you gotten from your tier 4 jeweler farming?
The 2LP ones, I have a lot of the rings. The rings seem to be the most common 2LP one for me. I don't know why, but I've gotten another. I still haven't got a 4LP.
Anything?
Still not.
Anything?
No,
Okay,
no
yeah.
4LP anything. I got to be close though. In my head, I have to be. Lot of
there like a pity number that we're aware of?
Just keep
of,
telling
like,
yourself that.
Yeah, if you kill her enough, eventually the game's just like, look, just have a 4LP item and get out of here. Holy crap, please leave us alone.
We've heard explicitly from the developers that there's no pity mechanic in the game for anything. Good luck.
Okay.
So then I've gotten a couple tier 3 or 3LP rings, a 3LP helmet, and then the 3LP gloves. And I think that's the extent. The 3LP gloves are crazy. It is attack speed, shred, and frailty on hit on the jeweler gloves. Very, very good.
Holy crap.
And for some reason they don't port right when you port them over to planner, but I don't know why.
Oh, so you can't export your build guide?
I have to put them in manually, and then I can
Gotcha.
save it and then do it that way.
Okay. We mentioned something. Go ahead.
I got the kill down, and to date, the fastest I've killed Jewelra is 5.2 seconds. 5.2.
Good. Would you say this is a good starter build? Would you recommend this to people in chat?
I actually would. Well, first of all, get the helmet first. If you get the helmet, re-roll the squirrel build. It's worth it. You will be able to slap to gear together once you get the helmet together. If you get a Raven's Rise, even better. It's a good starter gloves until you can get shred on some jeweler gloves. It's definitely a build you can start.
I was joking, but okay.
It's a good build.
All right, we touched on something, and I want to bring it up again because the very beginning of the podcast, when I was introducing you, you mentioned something from Path of Exile that you and I bond over all the time, which is deleting items. We love valing things, like double corrupt it, val it, scourge it, destroy it, make it red. Yeah, I love stuff like that. Tell me about like last Epoch finally having something in the game that deletes items.
Oh, I love taking items that are just garbage and throwing them on the floor. It's my favorite thing. Like I make like a legendary item, like this is garbage, throw it on the ground. I love it. It's so good.
And then all your crafting materials, the unique that you had and the exalted item that you either creation.
It's so healthy.
Creation, just get it out.
It's so healthy.
I love it.
You get to delete 2 items out of the game. It's great. You get to delete an exalted and a base LP unique item. And when trade comes, that is going to be very healthy for the game.
And for better or for worse, it does keep you playing the game. It gives you more goals. It makes it like you don't have as many like garbage items sitting around in your stash because you're deleting them. You're using them for stuff.
And to me, when people say like, gold is going to be used for trading when the bazaar comes out, I'm like, yeah, that's probably okay. The amount of transfer of gold that's going to happen to me is going to be from somebody who trades quite a lot in Path of Exile, makes multiple mirrors every single league. The way that they have it set up right now is probably going to be healthy. I'm sure that they have a lot of stuff in the background going on, but anytime you delete items from the game, it's going to be good.
What do you think? Do you want to talk about trade for a bit? We're probably about a year away from this.
Yeah.
We got plenty of time.
I'm going to break the crap out of this game.
Thanks, FreeForAll. Thanks. Appreciate it.
I'm going to destroy this. No, so trade, obviously, some of you in chat may know Tenki, one of my really good friends. Perry also knows Tenki. Him and I, every single league, tend to talk a lot about trade and what, and I've talked to him about LE trade before, and him and I have pretty much the same idea on it. People like me and Tenki, who has the same style play as me, are going to enjoy Last Epoch as a definite, game when trade comes out. Somebody like me who can look at an exalted item and just be like, where you put an item in planner or POB and you're like, man, I wish I could have that item, and then it exists and I can buy it. I'm going to.
Do you?
And now
Go ahead. Oh, we're too polite. Do you already have an idea of like what kinds of items you would be looking for if trade like magically existed right now? Like what's at the top of your list? What would you be buying?
Once it goes server side, the first things that I'm going to be buying is like, I'm going to have a live search for quadruple exalted items.
Assuming you can have live searches, but okay.
Yes. Triple exalted items, quadruple exalted items. I'm probably going to buy every single exalted. I'm going to market manipulate pretty much.
Thanks. Go on.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to market manipulate. I'm going to buy every single exalted movement speed boots there are, and slap them on everything. I'm going to put every single unique boots that I get. I'm going to have like 4 LP, the things that you expect to be super, super expensive. And to me, the idea of like super legacy items in Path of Exile, I kind of want, one of every unique, one of every single unique, barring that they don't get changed every time they roll out a patch, like legacy style items, which I don't know what their stance is on that. It'd be something that I'd like to know, actually.
I think there are legacy items that currently exist, but those aren't going to happen in like server, right?
Right. So like Ravenous Void, for instance, inevitably something like that will be either nerfed or made incredibly rare, even more rare, I should say. It's something that's inevitable. But what if I had 10 of those, and then they change the item for future patches, and now I have 10 legacy ones? To me, that's cool to have, and that's something that I'd probably be for at least the first year of server side stuff. After that, then it's like the really rare stuff, like triple elevated or triple exalted stuff, and
so once Ravenous Void goes legacy and gets changed, you would be interested in purchasing the NFT for the legacy.
I'm gonna do this before. I'll do this before, Jesus. So then I can profit.
Okay, I got you. That's the next supporter pack that comes. I'm even sad that I made the joke. All right.
No, to me, trade's going to be very nice. Min-maxing builds, obviously, is going to be something that is going to be a lot easier and a lot more accessible. And I wonder how the game will change because of it. I'm just kind of waiting.
So the last big piece of power creep that we saw in Last Epoch was legendaries, which are insane and in my opinion very fun. What's the next one gonna be? What's the next big power creep that we're gonna get?
Super empowered blessings.
Go tell me more. Only accessible past 1,000 corruption.
Something like that. Imagine if like what's the all res node go to? 20%?
Yeah, 20%.
What if it went to like after like 600, 500 corruption, it went to 35%, but it was also rare. Like it's like a 1% chance.
Okay.
To me that's kind of cool. Being able to farm primal blessings. Yeah. For me to being able to farm, different monoliths, not just Rise of Dragons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be something that would be definitely power creepy, because you can get insane amounts of shred, for instance, or insane amounts of spell damage leech as health.
You know,
but you also have to put in the time.
one thing that I don't mind about that idea is like, say there's a primal blessing. Let's call it that, okay? Let's say
Mhm.
there's a primal blessing that gives you up to 100% crit avoid, right? Yeah. So like once you get it,
Yeah.
you need to re-gear your character, right?
Yes.
Which is
So
and like that's good. I like that.
yeah. So one thing that the best part about the squirrel build is a lot of the blessings actually don't, and it's going to sound backwards until I explain it, but a lot of the blessings don't actually help you too much. So you have the ability to get all the res blessings: fire res, lightning res, cold res, all res, void res, necrotic res, everything. So the gearing process for res wise is actually really, really nice because I don't actually have to invest into. I think I have res on 2 pieces of gear total, and I'm completely res capped. So I mean, it's to me that's really nice.
I like that a lot. So one of the big level up moments for me in Last Epoch was a video that was put out by another content creator, Lizard IRL, and he talks a lot about I guess what I would call like opportunity cost of like where you have an affix on a piece of gear. And like the first big takeaway that I had from him is, listen, if you can have hybrid life on a piece of gear, you need to have hybrid life on a piece of gear. Like hybrid life is available on boots. You better have it on boots because I was like, it's a hot commodity. You can only get them one.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned for your build there, like the Jewelra gloves that put stats on minions. Like if you want shred in your build, you got to put it on gloves. If you want shred on your minions, you got to put it on your Jewelra gloves. You don't have options. So like once you start thinking about, I can only get percent dodge in these 3 places. I can only get armor in these places. I can only get, crit avoid in these places. Like the gearing process becomes a lot more interesting and like more dynamic than it first looks like. And once you get like, I kind of like the idea of these primal blessings. I like the idea of re-gearing because like that's
I've
something
thought about this too.
Yeah,
like
go
the
ahead.
whole primal blessing thing. I've actually put thought into this. You know, what other reward would you get for getting to super high corruption?
Yeah.
There's besides getting to your bosses faster.
So right now you get to bosses faster. You get once you're at 200 corruption, you get 5 options for your blessings instead of 4, and then there are some uniques that drop, and that's just about it, right? So like what else could you get in the future?
It's like things like the primal blessings, or even uniques that are locked, like global uniques, not just like Aerobus uniques. Global uniques that are unlocked at certain corruptions.
So like what if Ravenous Void only started dropping at 200?
500 corruption? Okay, I shouldn't say a 500 because
That's
500 to me is like benchmark. But it's like all of my monos are 500 corruption.
Totally normal. 500 corruption. Yeah, man. It's
good. So yeah, it's like 200, 300 corruption for your really hard to get uniques or super rare or great uniques. I'd be down for that.
I love that idea because it incentivizes you to actually go through and min max a character. Because like if you just get a Ravenous Void at 125 corruption, then it's like, all right, well, what do I need to keep pressing the corruption for? There's no point. I'm not getting anything out of it, basically. But locking the really high end uniques behind 200, 300, 400 corruption adds an element of progression to it beyond just being able to show off some number on your screen for how high you're going.
So here's a thought for you as well, and this is something that is borrowed from Path of Exile, right? So one of the things that Path of Exile did, I want to say recently, but it's been like 4 years. They introduced the new base types of steel rings and opal rings, right?
Yep.
Before steel rings and opal rings were introduced in the Path of Exile, your gearing process ended at like level 69 or something like maybe 68. Mm-hmm. It's like basically you could put on your hubris circlet and have your highest ES base or your highest armor helmet, and that you never did anything else. You did storyline, you did Blood Aqueduct or whatever it was until level 68. You put on all of your end game gear, and you're
Yep.
OP as hell for the rest of the game, for the rest of the life of that character. So once the life of that character. So once they introduce like new breakpoints, like you get to level 80, congratulations, here's a new opal ring. Now you got to go re-gear your character and make a new opal ring. I like re-gearing. I'm a big fan of that.
What some of my favorite new base types that were added to the game are the heist ones, like brittle on block or scorch on block. The scepters that affect a flask, but your 5th flask is disabled. Like
Or
those
like
are
the
so
like the
cool
alley
to me.
overload thing. Like you don't
Yes,
get them until
those
late, and then even if you do get one, it kind of blows. Like the
Right.
the progression for like actually
the
getting
rings though. The rings are the coolest ones.
Oh
like
yeah.
+1 prefix, -1 suffix. Those are so cool. Like, could you imagine a base in Last Epoch that said you can have 3 suffixes and 1 prefix on this space?
Oh,
That would be
I
sweet.
would love it. That would be so cool to see stuff like that in the game.
That would be so cool.
Interesting. And like whenever I hear ideas like this for Last Epoch, it's like Path of Exile has been around for like as a game 10 years, and then like in early access and alpha like 12 years. Like it's been around. It's kind of an old game at this point, right? It's got like a tremendous amount of feature blood. But like when I think about Last Epoch, it's like, Last Epoch is in that early access phase right now. All of these ideas that we come up with could be the fuel for an entire league. Like this is like a year of content. Every single thing we say is like, here's a year of content. Here's a year of content. Here's 6 months of content. I like this game. It's a good game.
It is a good game. And I distinctly remember like coming into your chat after I played the game for maybe like 100 hours or so, coming into your chat and you had not played Last Epoch. You were playing Path of Exile. I'm like, Perry, you should try this game out. You should try this game out.
It's a good game.
Well, maybe during the downside time on the league, and then we just played Risk of Rain for ever. And
Risk of Rain is a very good game.
Risk of Rain is a very awesome game.
Yes,
it's so good.
But like I wanted to. I'm glad you joined when you did. I'll say that. I'm glad that you didn't join when monoliths were just awful.
I wouldn't have played. I wouldn't have stuck around. Yeah,
when monoliths were like pick 2.
Yeah, it was like 2 doors. I played that system for like 48 hours. It was like, here's door number 1, here's door number 2, and I played it for like a day. And I was like, this sucks. Can't wait for that update tomorrow morning.
Yes, and I've like been playing it for like 5 months. Like,
we just kind of brainstorming more ideas, but like things that we could see happening with like new power creep or like new crafting options in the future. New min-maxing stuff. We had an idea that was bouncing around earlier today. What about, some kind of affix that gives you +1 mastery point? +1 mastery point. Well, hello.
Hey, come say hi. Come say hi. You can say hi.
Hello.
Oh.
Special guest.
Very special.
Go.
Absolutely.
What about
I'm almost done, I promise.
What about like +1 mastery point as a prefix on your ring? So you could either have, up to 60% spell damage, or maybe Exalted Tier 7 is like 120 spell damage. What about like +1, maybe +2 mastery points? Like all of a sudden it's like, whoa. I didn't even think about that until now.
To me that's like super akin to level of skills. Like +4 level to
it's not that weird when you think about it like that.
Yeah, and to me that's good. It's a good idea.
It's spicy.
It's a sacrifice for power. It's a sacrifice for power elsewhere. And if you value, it's kind of like getting a resistance blessing and not having to put lightning res on this gear. I can put something else there.
When we talk about power creep. When we talk about power creep in terms of like affixes or blessings or even just like unique items, if there's an opportunity cost, if you're giving up something else that's strong in order to get this new thing that's strong, I like that kind of power creep. I like not having a right choice and instead just choosing between 2 things.
So what do you think? What do you think is stronger, passive points or a suffix or a prefix?
Suffix or a prefix, I think.
And so,
yeah, I mean, like it has to be more than just one, right?
Right. And so you now have a sliding scale of, if I get a tier 7 exalted, +4 passive points, is that better than getting a tier 7 exalted mod for this?
But what if I can
what
seal
if
it?
what if these
What if I can seal it?
what if they're drop only? What if
Ooh.
what if you can only get plus affixes or plus passive points as a drop only exalted mod? It's always exalted.
And
Something
what if you
like that.
can't make shards of it? Like you can't
Exactly.
shatter it?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
When you shatter it, the shards don't exist.
There's so many options. Like just it's in a way it's kind of like useless brainstorming because like we're not the developers, we're not the ones making up the decisions. But
I'd like to think at least one developer watches or listens to the
it's so
podcast.
good. These are such cool ideas to brainstorm. I'm all about stuff like that. But I think as we're just tipping over the top of the hour, I think we're gonna start wrapping it up here. So SirFreeForAll, thank you so much. I know that I see you every day in my Twitch chat, but I'm glad that we finally figured it out with both of our brains that it would be excellent to have you
I'd love
on
to be
this
on
podcast.
sometime
So
in the future.
I appreciate having you.
Want
You
me
know what?
again.
I think we need more people. Having like a nice little round table. Every once in a while, Cynical Squid is out sick, or maybe Grim Reaper is out busy, or maybe I'm even not here.
The time slot's great for me. I'm
good.
usually always at my computer at the time of the podcast. So if you ever need me on, just send me a message.
Oh,
I'll be less talkative as the co-host instead of the guest.
Well, we'll see what happens. Okay.
Right.
See what happens. So, anyways, that is going to wrap it up for us. So, again, SirFreeForAll, thank you so much for joining us. Cynical Squid, thank you again for being here. Always appreciate having you as a co-host here. So that does it for us. All the podcasters here, the hosts, co-hosts, and the guests. So, chat, thank you for being here. If you're on Spotify, YouTube, or Twitch chat, or watching this somewhere else, thank you so much for participating. And I hope that you can leave a little like or a little subscribe somewhere along the way to let us know that we're doing a good job. So that about does it. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.